What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So, Michigan State basketball heads on the road to Madison, Wisconsin to face off against the Wisconsin Badgers. Now, a unique game here where Michigan State has been off since last Saturday. Wisconsin did play on Tuesday, but both these teams coming off of top 10 wins against the same team. Both of these teams beat Illinois last time out. So, we obviously know the Michigan State game. That was a definite high-level basketball game that went into overtime. And Wisconsin, yeah, they were in quite a battle as well going into overtime with Illinois as well and getting a 2-point victory. That one on the road for Wisconsin. So both teams feeling pretty good about themselves, I'd say, coming into this one. But look, Wisconsin this year, definitely right there in this Big Ten race. Only a game behind where Michigan State currently is. Wisconsin 17-7 on the year, 6th in the Big Ten at a 9-4 Big Ten record. Michigan State just right there at 20-4 and 10-3 in the conference. About 2.5 games out and currently tied in that realm here with Nebraska, Purdue, also has a 10-3 record, but Wisconsin and UCLA right there at a 9-4 record as well. You got Illinois at 11-3, and you got that school down the road at 13-1. So still a lot to play for both of these teams. Michigan State Michigan State has probably one more loss, and like one more loss would probably knock them out of the Big Ten regular season championship, contention. I'd say 4 losses is probably too much, but you're playing for a top 4 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Getting those buys, not starting till later in the week is a big thing, and both of these teams have the opportunity for that still ahead in this thing. Both of these teams have 7 games left in the season to secure a top 4 spot, and for both of these teams, really maybe for both of them an outside shot, but still has a chance to compete for a Big Ten regular season title. But this will be a big one. And when you look at Wisconsin's schedule earlier in the year, they played against number 9 ranked BYU at the time. That was a 28-point loss. They had a 11-point loss against TCU. They beat Northwestern earlier this year to kick off their Big Ten season. Lost by 30 at Nebraska. Lost by 10 to Villanova. They beat UCLA, who is a team that they are close with here in the standings. They also beat that school down the road, which was their first loss of the season, of the Big Ten season, and everything, and did that on the road as well. Tight win against Minnesota, but then had a tough 2-point loss against USC, but then turned it around to win 3 of the next 4. Only loss coming as a 1-point loss on the road against Indiana. A lot of controversy in this one, but as we said, coming in off a top 10 win at Illinois in this one. So before we do jump into this game, if you could, just hit that like and subscribe button down there. We'll have more Michigan State basketball content on the channel, so just make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video. So starting with Wisconsin here, really you have to start with their 2 guards, Nick Boyd and John Blackwell. Now, Nick Boyd, he plays about 31 minutes a game, but he averaged about 20 points, about 3 rebounds, 4 assists as well. Shoots it pretty decent from 3, about 35% on the year, decent volume. But John Blackwell is a name that you'll definitely remember from, from last year as well specifically, but he's a name that is from the state of Michigan. And, Tom Izzo even said in his, press conference this week is that, doesn't have a lot of regrets in his career, but, he regrets not going after and getting John Blackwell to come to Michigan State, being in the area. But I mean, he plays 34 minutes a game, 19 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal. Shoots at 37% from 3, and he takes their most 3-pointers on the year as well. And listen, this is a dynamic backcourt, and this is, in my opinion, one of the more dynamic backcourts in the Big Ten. I mean, the way that they can both operate the offense, get to the rim, they can both shoot the ball, they can each go get themselves a bucket. You see that by them putting up 20 and 19, both of them respectively. So they can definitely score the rock, Blackwell crashing the glass, Nick Boyd passing it. They can both pass it decently well. So the backcourt is definitely going to be a challenge in this one. Then you move down Nolan Winter, another name that should be fairly familiar over the last couple years here with Wisconsin. 14 points a game, 9 rebounds, adds a block as well. Can step it out, shoots, doesn't shoot a whole lot of threes, but he can shoot it out, step out and shoot a decent amount. Austin Rapp for them, about 9 points, 4 rebounds on the year. Braden Carrington, 7 points. Go down Andrew Rode, 6 points. And when you look at Wisconsin as a whole, about 83 points a game, 37 rebounds, 16 assists, with about 6 steals, 3 blocks. Only turned it over about 9 times a game. 45% from the three, 78%, which is really good from the free throw line. 35% from three. And going through some of those numbers, and we see the decently high assist rate with the pretty low in terms of turnovers. That makes them the 20th ranked in assist to turnover ratio. They're 134th with about 12 fast break points a game. They're 119th with that 37 rebounds a game, just about. But then here's some pretty important numbers that I think Michigan State is going to have to key in on here on Friday night. 11th they are in the country in three-point attempts. They attempt about 32 a game, and then 11th in three-pointers made with about 11 per game. So Michigan State's three-point defense is definitely something that's going to be tested in this game against Wisconsin. Now, when we flip it over to the Michigan State side of things, we kind of touched on it a little bit here, but I do think kind of, when you started out, the biggest key to this game is going to be the backcourt and guard defense on Nick Boyd and John Blackwell. I mean, if you're letting both of them go off for 25, 24, like if you're letting them both score in the 20s in this one, and you got Winter down there, throwing in another 12, and you got Rapp, Carrington, whoever off the bench knocking down a couple shots as well, on the road in a place like Wisconsin that can be tough to play at times. Yeah, things aren't going to go well. So I think this whole thing starts with the guard defense, and not allowing these guys to just go nuclear like they can at times. So that's kind of first order of business, in my opinion, is, Jeremy Fears, Jordan Scott. We saw the job that they did on a Big Ten Player of the Year candidates, Big Ten Freshman of the Year, with Illinois, with Keaton Wagler. They did an incredible job there. So can they shut both of these guys down? That'll be tough. But if you can just, kind of cut off one hand, just like have their backcourt have one hand, then I'd consider that a success for Michigan State with the amount of points that they account for in Boyd and Blackwell. So if you can even shut one of them down with Michigan State's backcourt, who I think is pretty solid defensively, we saw that last time out against Illinois. If you can shut one of them down, whether Boyd or Blackwell, then I think that's, a pretty decent success, as long as you don't have, Winter going off for 18 or 20 or, something like that, or someone off the bench knocking 3-4 threes down. I think that's a solid start, defensively overall. But besides the defense, getting to the paint, when you look at Wisconsin, they are 187th in 2-point percentage defense. So I think attacking that paint, just getting to the lane, which is what Michigan State wants to do. Like, they want to get to the paint and, finish at the rim. They want to get lobs to Coop, to Cohen. They want to be able to dump the ball down to Jax. Curious, does Wisconsin double? Each team kind of handles that differently when the ball goes down to Jax. So, in this one, like, see Cam Ward had a pretty good game last time out against Illinois. Like to see him getting back kind of more comfortable in, this role and scoring role around the basket. Like to see some of that, kind of, just getting physical there under the basket, finishing at the rim. I think that'll be a big point of emphasis in this one, getting to the paint and, opening up that paint scoring and, just knocking down some open shots. We saw some guys, Jordan Scott, Kurt Tang, knock some shots down, last game. And, that's going to be key, is, that's the formula Michigan State wants to use. It's just get to the paint, and just aggressively keep getting to the paint. And then when those 3-pointers do open up, then, kick that thing out and, knock down a couple shots. That's a formula to win on offense. And then, getting out and running. Wisconsin, they do not run a lot. As we said, kind of middle of the pack, about 12 fast break points a game, which we said is trending towards middle of the pack, 134th, like we talked about. But the last 2 games, Michigan State has not allowed a fast break point. Minnesota and Illinois allowed 0 fast break points. In Illinois, Michigan State had quite a bit of fast break points that they got themselves. So if they can keep that streak up, that's pretty good if I do say so myself. But yeah, kind of. I'm looking forward to seeing how the team comes out. Obviously, being off about 6 days since last Saturday night, um, but just kind of seeing more of the rotations and lineups with obviously Divine being out for the rest of the season. We obviously, I'm assuming Jordan Scott will still be in that starting lineup, but curious to see if maybe Trey Fort gets some more run. Kurtang obviously hit the big shot last game. Thought he had some good moments, but Kurtang, the Minnesota game, he had those shots at the end to get Michigan State a chance in that game. So I'm curious. I know Tom, keeps talking about getting them more run, getting them more run. So I'm curious what happens there. But this is definitely just a classic got to defend, rebound, run to get a win here on the road against Wisconsin and set yourself up coming home with following this one. You got 2 games at home before heading on the road for 2 tough games as well. But this will be a tough one on the road for sure. When you look at Bart Torvik, they have Wisconsin as the number 34 team in the country, 25th adjusted efficiency offense, 58th adjusted efficiency defense. And Michigan State, I think some of this has to do with them not playing this week, but they are down to number 15 on Bart Torvik, so dipped just a little bit. Because their last recorded game, I mean, they had a game score of 96 against Illinois, which they've had a lot of high scores this season. They've had a couple hundreds, 98s, 99s, whatever, but 96 pretty solidly up there. So they've been sitting at number 12 or so for a good amount of the season, but they're number 15 right now. Michigan State is currently in the AP poll, still sitting solid at number 10. Adjusted efficiency offense at 46, adjusted efficiency defense at 8. Now, Bart Torvik has this as a close one. This one's kind of flip-flopped over the last, week or so, both kind of back and forth both ways. But they do have this now as a 74-73 Michigan State road win. Now, this would definitely be a big one in the Kohl Center, Madison, Wisconsin, Friday night, 8 o'clock on Fox. But as we said, this one, coming off of, is it, rest over rust? It's been 6 days. I feel like a good after that Illinois game was a marathon. I think pretty sure they had Sunday off from what Izzo said, and then getting back to it Monday. Hopefully they were able to work on themselves for a day or two and then get into the Wisconsin stuff and probably get a little bit ahead. It's not a super, super long turnaround, but you're coming home Friday night, and then you got a Tuesday game, and then you got Sunday home game next week as well. So hopefully being home, not having to worry about travel, this past, 6 or so days, since the Illinois game, and going into next week with 2 home games in the beginning of the week and then a home game at the end of the week. Hopefully been able to kind of clean some things up overall around the edges and, kind of focus on yourself a little bit and, then, prep for your opponents. And look, over the next 3 games, you have Wisconsin, UCLA, and Ohio State. Wisconsin and UCLA, we said, are right there. They're only about a game behind where Michigan State is in the current standings. They are at 9-4. Michigan State's at 10-3. The other school that you have in there is Ohio State, and guess what? They're just a game behind them. They're at 8-6. And then after that, you have 2 tough road games at Purdue, at Indiana. You're projected to lose both of those games. Indiana sitting at 8-6. Purdue sitting at the same record as 10-3. Then you have Rutgers at home. You're favored in that one. But then you go on the road to that school down the road, and they're favored in that one as well. That's who we're chasing. Michigan State, the path, I think, is, the path for competing for a Big Ten championship is Michigan State has to win out. There's no secret about that. And then, an Illinois, Illinois has the matchup against that school down the road coming up. We know in a couple weeks they have to beat them, and then maybe set up a shot at playing for a title on the last day of the regular season. But anyway, got to focus on Wisconsin at first. This will definitely be a tough one in Madison. So anyway, that'll do it for this one. We'll be back to recap this one afterwards. But thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.